All right, let's jump right in. For this session, I want you to imagine something. You're not just a spectator, you're the one in charge. We're going to drop you right into the principal's office of a school that's got some real tricky environmental problems. And your choices? Well, they're going to matter a lot. Let's get started.
So, forget the textbooks for a second. You're in the hot seat now. The problems are real, your budget isn't endless, and you've got a whole student body watching your every move. What you decide to do here, it's not just about a clean campus, it's about shaping how these kids think for years to come. So, where do you even start? What's your first move?
Okay, let's start with challenge number 1. It's something you probably see every single day. It's small, it's super convenient, and man, does it add up to a huge problem. We're talking about the simple plastic bottle and the powerful habits that are just so hard to break. So here's the deal. Your school has already done the right things, You've got water dispensers everywhere, you're even selling cool, cheap, reusable bottles. And yet, so many students are still just grabbing the disposable plastic ones. Why? They'll tell you it's just easier, more convenient. This isn't just about trash. It's a real puzzle about human behavior.
So, what's it going to be? What's your play here? Do you bring down the hammer and just ban them outright? Or do you try a softer approach? You've got to pick a strategy. What do you think is the most effective way to encourage students to use those reusable bottles more often?
Okay, let's say you went with one of those strategies. You decided to launch a big campaign, maybe with some rewards, positive reinforcement. And check this out. After just 1 month, your school's plastic waste is down by 40%. That is a pretty big deal.
40%. I mean, that feels like a huge win, right? But if you're a true leader, you have to look past the number. Beyond the celebration, what does this result really teach us about motivation? Sure, it's a win, but what does it reveal about the complex science of actually changing how people act? All right, on to the next problem. We're shifting gears a little bit. We're moving from a single person's habit to a whole group project. And listen, if changing one person is tough, getting an entire group to pull together, that's a whole other ballgame.
So the school started this awesome project, a brand new garden, and the students planted it themselves. The deal was, everyone was supposed to take turns watering it. But you can probably see where this is going. The plants are wilting. It seems like a lot of students just forgot, or maybe they just figured someone else would do it.
This is such a classic problem, right? Are the students just too busy, or is there something deeper going on here? To find the right solution, you've got to diagnose the problem correctly. What's the root cause when responsibility is shared, but no one really takes ownership? And this really gets to the heart of it. The goal was never just about having a pretty garden. It was about teaching responsibility, about building character. I mean, you could just hire a gardener to fix it, but that kind of misses the whole point, doesn't it? The real question is, how do you design a project that doesn't just get a task done, but actually builds long-term character and responsibility?
Okay, let's zoom out one more time. We've tackled an individual habit, then a group task. For our final challenge, we're talking about the entire school culture. This is about the environment the students create for themselves, day in and day out.
And it is such a frustratingly persistent problem. Every single day, like clockwork, the schoolyard is just covered in trash after lunch. It's this constant battle, and it makes the whole campus feel, well, less cared for. This isn't a one-off issue, it's a systemic habit. As the principal, you're juggling 2 big goals here. Yes, of course, you want a clean school, but you also want to develop students who think for themselves, who analyze problems, who take initiative. Just punishing them might stop the behavior, but does it really teach them anything? The challenge is, how do you promote cleanliness while also fostering critical thinking in your students?
So you try the obvious thing first, right? Add more trash bins. It's logical, it's practical. But it doesn't work. The littering continues. So now what? What's your next move when the easy fix fails?
You're basically at a fork in the road here. You've got 2 main paths you can take. On one hand, you can enforce and punish. You crack down, you make rules, you hand out consequences. On the other, you can empower and lead, creating a student-led initiative, maybe something like a Green Ambassador program, where they own the problem and the solution. And this brings us to a really fundamental question about leadership. One path creates compliance, but it's driven by fear of getting in trouble. The other path creates engagement, driven by a real sense of ownership. Why is empowering students to lead and influence their peers so often more effective than just simple punishment?
So after wrestling with plastic bottles, a wilting garden, and a littered campus, we've arrived at the core idea that ties all these challenges together. It's about the foundational element of any kind of lasting change.
You see, the solution to all these problems isn't some massive, top-down decree. It's powered by a much simpler idea. It's the cumulative power of small, consistent choices. As that saying goes, little actions create big changes.
Knowing this, what does real success actually look like? It's not the student who cleans up only when a teacher is watching. And it's not the person who just complains about the problem. So, which kind of student action truly embodies this spirit of environmental stewardship? What does it look like when someone really gets it?
And that brings everything right back to you. We started this explainer by putting you in the principal's chair. But the truth is, these principles apply everywhere, in your community, your workplace, your home. So the final question isn't for some hypothetical principle. It's for you. What will your first little action be? Have you ever wondered how some messages just work? You know, they convince you, they get you moving, they completely change your mind. Well, today, we're going to crack the code. We're going to uncover a super powerful universal formula for persuasion just by taking apart a surprisingly simple piece of text. Okay, let's dive in.
Our journey really starts with this idea. You see, persuasion isn't always about some massive, world-changing event. A lot of the time, the real goal is just to inspire small but really meaningful actions. Getting this mindset is totally key to understanding how influence actually works.
So, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? How do you actually build a message that takes someone from just kind of nodding along to actually doing something about it? All right, let's put on our investigator hats because we are about to crack this case.
Okay, here's our evidence. It's just a short little text written for students, and it has one very clear goal: get them to help keep their school clean. Now, it might look basic, but trust me, hidden inside is the exact blueprint for persuasion that we're looking for.
All right, let's look at the first chunk of text here. It kicks off with, our school environment plays an important role, and ends with, some students still ignore this issue. See what the author did there? It's a classic 1-2 punch. First, they establish a belief that everyone can agree on. Yeah, a clean school is important. And then, bam, they immediately introduce the problem. They're setting the stage.
So that was the setup, the hook. Now let's really get our hands dirty and dissect the rest of this message. We're going to see exactly how this persuasive engine is built, piece by piece.
Now check this out. This is how the author gets ahead of any resistance. They start by saying, taking care of the school environment is not difficult. Then they give super easy, concrete actions, right? Throwing rubbish into the bin, watering plants. They make it feel doable. And they don't just tell you what to do, they give you logical reasons why. Fresh air, calm atmosphere, learning responsibility. Every single action is tied to a benefit.
And here it is, the final punch. This is where the author introduces the stakes. They tell you the negative consequences. If we do not take action, our school may become dirty, and this could affect students' health and concentration. This creates a sense of urgency, right? And then the grand finale, a clear, direct call to action kicked off by that magic word, therefore.
Okay, so we've seen all the individual pieces, we felt how the argument builds, now it is time for the big reveal. Let's actually put some names to these patterns we've uncovered and lay out the entire persuasion playbook. So what we've been digging into has an official name, of course. It's called a persuasive text, and its entire reason for being is to influence you, to convince you to either do something or to buy into a certain idea. It is communication with a very specific purpose.
And here it is. This is the secret formula. Seriously, almost every effective persuasive message you've ever come across probably follows this three-part dance. Step 1, state your position. Tell people what you think. Step 2, back it up with solid arguments. Give them the why. And step 3, give a recommendation. Tell them exactly what you want them to do. It's so powerful because it hits our logic with reasons and our emotion with benefits, all while giving us a clear path to follow.
But you know, the structure is really only half the story. The real magic, the secret sauce, is in the specific words used to power this whole thing. So let's take a look at the language toolkit that makes these arguments so compelling.
Look, none of this language is here by accident. It is absolutely engineered. You've got modal verbs like should that create this sense of obligation. You have persuasive words like important and better that add some real emotional weight. Logical connectors like therefore make the conclusion feel like it's just, well, logical. And using the simple present tense makes a statement like plants help sound like an undeniable scientific fact.
Okay, so we've got our playbook, right? The three-part structure and the language toolkit. Now, let's actually put it to work. We're going to run through a couple of questions just to see how this new framework helps us analyze these messages on a way, way deeper level.
First question up. The text brings up students' health and concentration when it's talking about a dirty school. Why? What's the strategic reason for putting that specific detail in there? Think about our playbook.
So a quick read might just make you think, oh, they're just listing the bad things that can happen. But when you use our persuasion playbook, you see the real strategy. It's about connecting the problem directly to a personal consequence for the reader. It answers that silent question in everyone's mind. Why should I care? It makes the whole thing feel personal and immediate.
All right, next challenge. Think back to our three-part structure: statement, arguments, and recommendation. Out of that entire text, which single sentence is the absolute core recommendation, the main call to action?
And boom, there it is. This is the sentence that tells you exactly what to do. And notice the clues from our language toolkit. It kicks off with that logical connector, therefore, and it uses that really powerful modal verb, should. That is a textbook call to action.
Last one. You know, an argument is only as strong as it supports. The writer gave a few different reasons, but which two are the real pillars holding this entire message up? And here are our winners. One is a direct, tangible benefit of doing something. Plants give you fresh air. The other is that foundational belief the entire message is built on, that a clean school is just plain better for learning. These are the heavy lifters in the argument section of our playbook.
So we've cracked the code of a simple text about keeping a school clean. But, and this is the most important part, this formula isn't just for students. It is everywhere.
This isn't just some abstract writing lesson. This is a life lesson in communication. That statement, argument, recommendation structure is one of the most fundamental tools for influence that exists, whether you're trying to sell a product, pitch an idea, or even start a movement.
I mean, think about it. An ad shows you a problem you have, statement. It tells you how their amazing product is the solution, arguments, and it urges you to buy now, recommendation. Politicians do it, charities do it, and I guarantee you've got 5 emails in your inbox right now using this exact same formula.
And this, right here, is why knowing the playbook is so powerful. Because once you see the architecture behind the message, you can't unsee it. It's like seeing the code behind the matrix. It lets you evaluate arguments more clearly and decide for yourself if you're truly persuaded or if you're just being played.
So now you have the playbook. You can use it to build your own compelling arguments, or you can use it to be a smarter, more critical thinker about the messages trying to influence you every single day. The only question left is, how are you going to use it?